My name is Emma, and the love of my life is Oliver. We've been friends for nearly 7 years and in love for more than 4. Oliver is my ideal mate, charming, good-looking, and financially secure, earning a steady salary from his employment. He's been a committed employee since the age of 15 and has no regrets about his career choice. He's a genuine man who takes pleasure in working diligently to support a family. He was raised near the ocean while I grew up in the capital city. We got married 2 years after we first met, just 1 month after falling in love at the age of 19. My parents were supportive, but his relatives initially were not enthusiastic about our union. They blamed me for coercing him into marriage, despite the fact that I was a virgin and childless. It's puzzling how they could view it as coercion. I've also been working hard, starting at a hotel front desk when I was 17. On the other hand, Oliver had 1 or maybe 2 previous relationships, though he only acknowledges 1. It's unclear why they blame me for anything. Despite the initial criticism and some early resentment, they eventually accepted me as part of the family, and we all discovered joy and trust in each other's presence. Oliver and I have been in love and married for nearly 4 years, and we are all very satisfied. I manage the cooking and cleaning for him and am keen to satisfy any of his needs in our private moments. I never decline, and we both experience immense joy together. He is my ultimate aspiration in every aspect, and I wouldn't desire anything more. Now, complications arise. I've been working alongside a man named Doran at the hotel since the beginning. Doran, who is 32, oversees maintenance and cleaning duties at the hotel. Let me be absolutely clear, I have no romantic feelings or attraction toward Doran. Doran is simply a compassionate individual who has endured tough times. He has an ex-wife who was unfaithful to him and left, taking his son with her. A paternity test showed that the son is not his biologically, uncovering the affair and implicating another man as the father. Doran, who is not only a colleague but also cherished by everyone at our workplace, was devastated by this painful revelation. He lost his will to continue and even took days off work, which he had never done in his 13 years at the hotel, never missing a day until this crisis. I was very worried about my friend and colleague. To boost his morale, I started having lunch with him at work every day, along with other colleagues, either in the break room or outside at tables to chat in the fresh air and sunlight. Doran feels he has lost his manhood due to his wife's actions. He fears no woman will desire him again, causing him severe distress. I reassured Doran that this belief is unfounded. I truly think any woman would be lucky to have him as a partner. He is caring, gentle, a reliable provider, and a loving father to his child. I'll elaborate on this part of the story later. Conversations with Doran over these weeks inspired an idea. I thought I could assist him in reclaiming his sense of manhood while simultaneously considering a relationship with another man, which I had never contemplated before, except with my dear Oliver. This would address a persistent question in my mind. I planned when to discuss this idea with Oliver and seek his consent. After we finished dinner and tidied up, I sat down with Oliver for our talk. I shared my plans and ideas with him, and his reaction was to burst into laughter and give me a crazy, incredulous smile. He believed I was making light of the whole situation. I reassured him that I wasn't jesting and explained my reasoning for thinking this could be a beneficial arrangement for both Doran and myself. I stressed that he had no reason to be concerned about Doran, as I felt no attraction toward him. Oliver got very upset and left the room abruptly, slamming the bedroom door behind him. He didn't lock the door, and to demonstrate my love and dedication, I undressed completely and followed him into the bedroom. He's unable to resist me, just as I can't resist him, even after 4 long years. I offered him all his favorite affections, and we drifted off to sleep in each other's arms, content and in love, as we always are. I waited a day before I mentioned my idea to Oliver once more. I inquired whether he had considered it and if he could endorse it again. He adamantly refused and cautioned that if I proceeded, he would initiate a divorce and cease all communication and amiability with me. I acknowledged his position with a simple okay and joined him to watch a movie. Later, I gave him a snack and we spent the evening together on the sofa, still madly in love. During this period, I noticed that Oliver seemed distracted and preoccupied, not fully present during our intimate moments or while enjoying the meals I prepared. He often spoke on the phone either outside our apartment or quietly in the guest room, which raised my suspicions, though nothing was clear. Days passed and it was now Sunday. After attending church services, Oliver was set to drive to the coast for a 4-day family trip. They had an annual tradition of fishing during this period, which I had no problem with. I recognized his need for some time with the men in his family to uphold his manly vigor and strength. Before he left, I brought up my suggestion again. Oliver appeared irritated but said, "Emma, you're an adult and I can't dictate your actions. If you choose to be with another man, I can't stop you. I've already shared how I feel." I hugged him, thanked him for his understanding, but he gave me a peculiar look before he got into his car and left. Before departing, he reminded me of his earlier advice. I professed my love for him and continued sending affectionate messages and texts that night. The following day at lunch, I met with Doran and presented my proposal. He was utterly taken aback and hadn't expected it at all. Initially, he refused, stating he couldn't be involved with a married woman. I clarified that my husband had disagreed, but permitted it, and this was my wish. Doran considered my proposition all through Monday night, restless. When we met on Tuesday, he consented to it under the condition that both my husband and I were comfortable with it, emphasizing that it would be a purely physical involvement without any emotional ties. I reassured him that I had no romantic interest in him. He was a pleasant person, but not attractive to me. So on Tuesday night, I visited Doran's modest house, and we had the encounter with precautions, no kissing or romantic gestures, just the physical act. It quickly satisfied Doran. For me, it was about quenching my curiosity. It wasn't a remarkable encounter and held no meaning beyond satisfying curiosity. That evening, I texted my dear Oliver to let him know that everything had proceeded smoothly. I reassured him that Doran's confidence was boosted and I had resolved my query. I stressed that I would never be with another man, only him, my love, Oliver. It's essential to grasp that this was a strictly physical meeting, protected and devoid of any emotional bond or affection, unlike the intimate moments I share with Oliver. Let me make this clear to everyone. I opted to text Oliver because I was worried about how he would react, and he didn't reply that night. I spent a sleepless night full of anxiety. Thankfully, the next morning he texted, stating he would be returning home on Saturday instead of Friday. While I was not pleased about him staying away an extra 2 days, I was thankful for his understanding about the proposed meeting and was relieved to still have his love. The next day, Doran and I had lunch together, and he thanked me for the session and for aiding him in regaining his confidence and self-esteem. He also mentioned that he had been awarded 50% custody of his son by the court, despite not being the biological father. I celebrated this achievement with him and explained that since our objective was accomplished, we didn't need to continue our individual lunches or other gatherings. He thanked me, acknowledged, and confirmed that he was not a dishonest person. During this period, I kept sending loving texts and personal photos to my dear Oliver. However, his boat had weak service, so his replies were rare and mainly conveyed his eagerness to see me on Saturday. I was filled with joy and love, eagerly awaiting his return, but unfortunately, this story takes a distressing twist. On Friday, after a long day at work and buying Oliver's favorite groceries, I came home to an astonishing scene. My apartment was bare, and divorce papers were on the counter with a note. The note read, "I thank you and wish you luck and success with Doran," signed by my beloved husband, Oliver. I was overwhelmed with tears and disbelief, knowing that this decision was influenced by his family's disapproval of me. Oliver would never willingly act this way. He had removed all the furniture, silverware, cups, glasses, and linens, leaving just a single set. Our king-size bed was switched for a small twin bed, likely from his nephew's room. He left me a small TV and a chair, took all the kitchen appliances, but left a saucepan and a frying pan. He even left paper plates, plastic utensils, paper cups, and basic necessities like toilet paper and paper towels. My only remaining belongings were my clothes, toiletries, and makeup. I tried calling Oliver, but he had blocked my number. When I reached out to his mum and sister, I discovered they had blocked me too, as had his dad and brother. It became clear that Oliver had consulted an attorney during those times he was absent or in the spare room, initiating this process shortly after I made my suggestion, which seemed like a deceitful act. It couldn't believe what was happening. I then read the letter included in the divorce documentation, which instructed me to direct all correspondence and conversations through the attorney without direct contact with my husband. This brought me to tears. At the end of the day, I decided to call the attorney to understand what was happening and how I would manage. I explained that I couldn't afford this apartment alone. The attorney informed me that Oliver had covered the lease payment, including basic utilities, for the next 3 months. However, I would need to cover expenses for video service, internet, and cell phone on my own. The attorney also mentioned that Oliver had ended the lease. If I wanted to stay, I would need to negotiate a renewal with the landlord. I'm left pondering how I can manage to stay when affording it is a challenge. Is this how a man treats the love of his life? A woman who has given him everything from various forms of love to cooking, cleaning, and running all errands? Oliver only needed to ask, and he would receive whatever he desired. Now, I'm on the brink. I couldn't sleep that night, and the next day I decided to visit Oliver at his workplace. I learned he had taken a job by the shore and had specifically requested to work there. He's an expert in concrete work, one of the best, especially for his age. I asked the foreman to inform him that I was there and that I loved him, and he agreed to pass on the message. I'm overwhelmed with sorrow. It feels akin to experiencing a death and loss. I confided in a friend and co-worker about everything, and she was shocked by my actions. She's the one who initially suggested the idea. When I confronted her, she remarked, "I mentioned it, but I never thought you'd actually do it. It was just crazy girl talk." The next day, I took a bus to the seaport. Since I don't drive, I went to my in-laws' house, and though I wasn't exactly welcomed, they let me in and offered a meal and coffee. I explained the misunderstanding and how deeply and eternally I love Oliver. They were kind, but Oliver's mother informed me that he didn't want to see me again and suggested it would be best if I never contacted him. I expressed that I couldn't do that because he is my whole world. Oliver was working 100 km away, and his family didn't allow me to stay with them, so I had to take the bus back to my empty apartment. I cried the entire journey and continued crying all night. I even had to take some time off from work the next day to gather myself. Now, I need your help with my question. How can I regain my husband's love and fix this misunderstanding? Please, I'm not looking for judgment or criticism, as I've already received plenty of that in a previous post without any useful suggestions or actions. All I'm seeking are practical steps to win back my man, the love of my life, because I can't continue like this. Your assistance is greatly appreciated. Update 1. Let me address some questions from this group. Yes, I believe in God and the sanctity of marriage. Do you? No, I was not unfaithful to my loving husband, and I would never engage in such behavior. It's quite presumptuous to even suggest that. Yes, I do consider myself a good person. How many 24-year-old women do you know who have only been with one man and had just one other latex session? I can answer that for you, none, unless they're nuns. No, I have no intention of having any kind of relationship with Doran beyond being co-workers. There's no attraction or desire there. What I did for him came from the kindness of my heart. I take pride in helping him, and ultimately it's up to God to judge me, not any of you. No, I will never be with another man in the future. Perhaps you should ask these questions to your own significant others. Why not? Because you don't want to hear the truth. No, I didn't diminish or disrespect Oliver. You haven't met my husband, so you can't judge his masculinity. I know he's more of a man than anyone here. No, I haven't disclosed the situation to my parents or other family members, but I'm confident they would be proud of their daughter for doing what's right and selflessly helping people. No, I have no interest in engaging in latex sessions with any other individuals in this group. Many of you seem to have bitter attitudes. Update 2, well, I must provide another update, and it's quite a distressing situation. It's been a whole month since I've been without my husband, and I feel utterly empty and heartbroken. I've made every effort to contact him, but there's been no response. I've even resorted to calling him from other people's phones and leaving heartfelt messages, but it seems he's screening his calls and has never returned any of them, despite my pouring my heart out to him. I went as far as having Doran call Oliver and leave a message expressing gratitude for his act of kindness and how it saved Doran from a life of misery. Doran told Oliver that he sees him as a great man and will forever be indebted to him for his actions, emphasizing that there is no love or interest between me and Doran, we're just colleagues. However, Oliver hasn't responded to any of this. I decided to confide in my parents and brother about my divorce, but their reaction was far from what I anticipated. They're very angry with me and can't see the good deed I did, only focusing on the perceived infidelity. No matter how much I try to convince them that it wasn't cheating but a selfless act, they remain unconvinced and express disgust toward me. They've even suggested I go to confession every day for the next year. I believe that in the end, it's up to God to judge me, not the people on this earth, including my own family. Final update. Okay, I wasn't planning on returning to this troublesome post, but some kind-hearted people have asked for an update, so here it is. I really wish I could block all those bitter individuals in the comments. Anyway, let me fill you in on my current situation. I'm now living at our community hostel because my lease expired and I don't have the financial means to afford rent in the capital city. It's a decent place, but it's only a temporary solution. I could have stayed with my parents, but I chose not to since they don't understand my perspective. Now, about the divorce, it's official. It might just be the quickest divorce in our country's history, which seems to be my luck, but at least I have faith in God to support me. The judge appeared to be quite traditional and didn't seem to have much regard for women in today's world. He viewed my suggestion as nothing more than cheating and disregarded the fact that I had helped Doran regain his life. He simply stated, you can call it whatever you want, but it's cheating and a breach of your marriage. I tried to explain that my husband had given me permission, but when he asked my husband and his attorney, they both denied it, saying, no, Your Honor, he did not. What Oliver told Emma was, you're a grown woman and I can't prevent you from doing anything. He then added that he had previously warned Emma that he would divorce her if she went through with it. The judge turned to me and I conferred with my legal representative, who confirmed yes. Oliver did tell Emma this, and it's a truthful statement. The judge proceeded to ask, so why did you proceed with your affair knowing this, my legal representative and I were caught off guard and didn't respond? The judge then said that we didn't have to answer the question because it was irrelevant to the outcome. He then granted Oliver the divorce, officially ending the marriage. As part of the ruling, he awarded me the equivalent of US $6,000, about $7,000, which Oliver was required to pay within 90 days. Can you believe all of this? Just US $6,000 for 4 years of various forms of intimacy, cooking, cleaning, running errands, and taking care of this man. When he was ill, if I had worked these jobs instead, it would have amounted to over $200,000. Do I believe I should have received $200,000 from Oliver? No, I do not. However, receiving only $6,000. Come on, people. Why aren't women valued more for their valuable contributions to marriage? Can the individuals in the comments section answer me that question? This is my last post here because I won't continue arguing with the unkind individuals in the comments section. I'm simply drained, and you all are unpleasant people. Instead, I'm going to invest all my time and energy into winning Oliver back over the next year. I left him a message on his phone letting him know I won't go on any dates for at least a year, maybe even indefinitely, as I'll be patiently waiting for him to return. I told him he's welcome to come to my new apartment anytime for any type of affection and provided him with my new address. I believe that one day I'll hear a knock on my door and there will be my dreamboat Oliver standing there ready to embrace me with kisses. We'll then live our lives happily ever after, possibly with many children and daily affection. Merry Christmas to everyone out there, and I extend God's best wishes to all, even those who dislike me and themselves. All right, that was a fun story. Now let's move on to another exciting one. Stay tuned and let's dive in. This incident occurred more than 5 years ago, and I still haven't completely healed emotionally. Back then, John, was 31 years old, and my girlfriend Lisa was 29. We had been in a loving monogamous relationship for 3 years, or at least I thought so. We crossed paths at a cocktail reception held at a local art museum. Ironically, neither of us was a fan of modern art, but we were both there with friends, and we hit it off right away. We started dating casually and soon decided to exclusively commit to each other because our connection was undeniable. Around a year into our relationship, Lisa brought up the idea of moving in together as she was eager to take our relationship to the next level. I initially hesitated, expressing that I wasn't quite ready for that step, so we continued to live separately but spent at least 6 nights a week together, and our love for each other continued to deepen. Over the following year, Lisa continued to gently nudge me towards taking that next step. Eventually, on our second anniversary, I reluctantly agreed, and we moved in together. Everything seemed to be going wonderfully, and despite being together for over 2 years by that point, our intimacy in the bedroom was still vibrant and adventurous. With our relationship going smoothly, Lisa began dropping hints about marriage and starting a family. I let her know that I could envision that future with her, but wanted us to use this time living together to evaluate if we were truly ready to take that next step. Around 3 months into our cohabitation, I received quite a shock. Lisa called me at work to tell me that she had missed her period and might be pregnant. This caught me by surprise since she had been on birth control pills. She assured me that she hadn't missed a single dose, so I attributed it to the small chance of contraceptive failure, which is around 9%. After ending the call with Lisa, I went through a whirlwind of emotions, ranging from fear to excitement. However, the more I thought about it, the more joy I felt about the idea of becoming a father. Driving home that night, I was overjoyed, and upon arriving home, I embraced and kissed Lisa, expressing my excitement, which made her equally happy. As the weeks passed, Lisa started inquiring about our marriage plans. I told her that I wasn't ready for that at the moment, but suggested we consider it after the baby's arrival. She understood, but continued to bring up the topic several times a week, emphasizing how much she wanted to be my wife and spend her life with me. Over the next few months, we dedicated our time to preparing for our child, transforming our spare bedroom into a top-notch nursery. I spared no expense on the furniture and fixtures, ensuring we were fully prepared for our impending arrival. Our lives were going so smoothly that during Lisa's 7th month of pregnancy, I seized the opportunity to propose with a heartfelt proposal. I got down on one knee, and Lisa joyfully exclaimed, "Yes, yes, yes, I will marry you, John." We were both overjoyed. I suggested we have a civil ceremony at the mayor's office the following month, followed by a reception after the baby's birth, and she enthusiastically agreed. We had a wedding date set, but just a few days before the ceremony, our baby had different plans, and Lisa went into labor. We rushed to the hospital at 4 a.m., and by 9 a.m., Lisa had given birth to a healthy baby boy. I was by Lisa's side in the delivery room, assisting with the birth. Although the delivery went relatively smoothly, I couldn't help but notice immediately that the baby didn't resemble me. He had jet black hair, a deep brown complexion, and appeared to be of Hispanic descent. Both Lisa and I, along with our extended families, have Northern European backgrounds with light hair and fair skin tones. No one in either of our families has Hispanic heritage. When the baby was placed into Lisa's arms, I glanced at her face, and despite her efforts to appear composed, I could sense her shock at the baby's appearance. My heart was racing, but I managed to maintain my composure, pretending that everything was normal. Lisa wanted me to hold the baby, which I did, and tears welled up in my eyes. I cradled the infant and felt an overwhelming sadness, knowing he wasn't biologically mine. Despite my emotions, I handed him back to Lisa and mentioned that I was going out to inform our parents of the exciting news. I went out to the waiting room and shared the news with them. They all went inside to see Lisa and the baby while I explained that I needed a short walk to calm my nerves after all the excitement. I headed over to a small park area by a stream that flowed through the hospital grounds, and there I completely broke down in tears. My world felt like it had crumbled around me. I knew that today I would lose both my future wife and the baby I had so dearly hoped for. I spent about 30 minutes crying my heart out, and then my phone rang. It was my mother. She inquired about my well-being, and I replied, "I think so." She then said, "Son, I understand why you left." I confided, "Mum, the baby isn't mine." Her response was comforting. "Son, I know, and I'll stand by you no matter what decision you make." With that assurance, I regained my composure, went to the restroom to freshen up, and returned to the room. Upon re-entering, only Lisa, her parents, and my mum remained. The baby had been taken to the nursery, and Lisa was understandably exhausted from the childbirth. I suggested that we all give Lisa some much-needed time to rest. As we left the room, Lisa asked if I could stay with her, but I gently replied, "Babe, it's best for you to rest." Without talking, we all headed to the cafeteria and spent a few hours there while Lisa got some rest. Upon returning upstairs, I allowed her parents to check on her first. After spending about half an hour with her, they relayed that Lisa wanted me to be with her, so I went in to comfort her. Lisa began talking, expressing her happiness, and asked if I was happy too. I reassured her that I was thrilled that both she and the baby were healthy. Concerned, she observed, "You seem distant." "Is something wrong?" I replied. "We need to talk," she inquired. "Talk about what?" To which I responded, "The baby." Perplexed, she asked, "What about the baby?" That's when I disclosed, "Lisa, the baby is clearly not mine." She reacted defensively, stating, "It is your baby. Who else would it be?" I challenged her, saying, "You tell me." Her response was tearful sobbing, and I allowed her to cry for what felt like an eternity, but was actually closer to 10 minutes after she composed herself. I pressed further, asking about the father of the child. Through her tears, she confessed, "You are the father. I didn't accept that," and insisted, "Lisa, please don't lie to me." She fell into a silent daze, staring straight ahead. Eventually, she broke the silence, saying, "I'm so sorry, John. I was unfaithful, but I want you to be the baby's father." I disregarded her plea and repeated my question, "Who is the father?" Reluctantly, she admitted that her ex, whom she had been with for over 5 years, had come to town 8 months ago, and they had a brief encounter at our apartment. I stood up and walked over to the window, gazing down at the traffic below. Lisa anxiously asked if our relationship was over. I conveyed that it was, as I couldn't fathom trusting her again. Again, she burst into tears, begging for another chance, but I firmly asserted that it was not possible. I insisted that she needed to inform our parents about this situation immediately. Lisa begged me not to disclose it to them, but firmly I told her, "Lisa, you must do this now because you won't be returning to our apartment when you and the baby are discharged tomorrow." Tearfully, she pleaded with me again, but I simply repeated no and went outside to fetch our parents. As we entered the room, Lisa's father noticed her tear-stained face and inquired about what was wrong. I asked everyone to take a seat, which they did. Then I instructed Lisa, saying, "Tell them what we just discussed." Overwhelmed with emotion, she burst into tears and couldn't speak. I proceeded to explain the situation to our parents, and all three of them began crying, with Lisa's parents crying uncontrollably. I informed Lisa's parents that when she was discharged the next day, she would be going home with them, and I would arrange to have all her personal belongings in the nursery we had prepared moved to their house. Throughout this conversation, Lisa continued to cry uncontrollably. Then I turned to my mom and said, "Mom, let's go." In response, Lisa screamed, "John, please don't leave me. I love you, and I'm so sorry." With that, we walked out the door, leaving her parents to console her. While we were driving away from the hospital, Lisa called and pleaded, "Please, John, don't end our relationship like this." I replied, "Lisa, I didn't end our relationship. You did. The trust we had is forever broken, and the person I knew and loved is gone." Despite her continued pleas, I remained silent, eventually telling her that there was nothing more to say before hanging up. The following morning, her father came over with his van, and we loaded all of Lisa's belongings and the nursery into the back. I accompanied him to their house, helped with unloading, and set up the nursery in one of their spare bedrooms. I was devastated. Lisa's mum inquired if there was any possibility I would reconsider and give her daughter another chance. Politely, I explained that it was not possible because I could never trust Lisa again, and I would never be able to love the child that was conceived by another man. With this, her father drove me back home, where I spent the next day crying my eyes out. Over the course of the next week, Lisa reached out to me relentlessly, making over 100 calls and sending numerous texts. She professed her love and asked for another chance. Initially, she understood my reluctance to marry her and become a father to her child. Instead, she suggested that we continue dating as we were before. I chose not to respond, and eventually the messages ceased. Undoubtedly, this has been the most challenging period of my life. Although I have no intention of being a part of Lisa or her son's life, I do entertain the thought of meeting him for a beer when he turns 21. I'd like to express my gratitude for his early arrival, which prevented me from marrying his mother and further complicating my life. My parting advice to all men out there is to consider obtaining a pre-birth paternity test with every pregnancy. It can save you a lot of wasted time and heartache in the long run.